Hi, this is Blake, and we're going to do some farmland land use mapping. So let's get started. I have a square checked out of the tasking manager, and this is not going to be easy, but let's just kind of get to it. So this is a little bit of farmland, this is a little bit of residential area, etc. The way we're going to do this is we're going to map these areas, and for some of this really tight stuff like this, there's not going to be any gap between our areas. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my add tool, and I'm just going to start outlining my areas. And this is farmland, so I'm going to outline this farmland, and I'm just going to assume that this is a good corner right here. That's farmland. This, for our purposes, is farmyard. It's not farmland. It probably has something to do with the attached agricultural area, so we're just going to call this farmyard. And you can see I'm using JOSM, and I'm going to start snapped right to that, so that these things are there's going to be no gap between these land use areas. And I'm just going to try and outline these as best I can. Again, this is going to be a part of this one. These lines are going to overlap, and I'm going to go right back up to where I finished. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my tags here. And this is land use equals farmyard. This is land use equals farmland. And then I'm going to kind of keep going here. Get back my add tool. This again looks like farmland to me. And I'm just going to, again, there's no space between farmland and farmyard here, so those are going to share. Alt A, and that is farmland. The other thing that I want you to do while you're mapping these is try not to pick squares that border on something else, because we're going to be mapping these. Otherwise, they'll never get mapped. If we don't map stuff that's half in and half out, it's just never going to get mapped. Looks to me like there's probably some sort of little track there, so I'm not going to map that. But I am going to go and I'm going to map all the way to the end here. I'm going to get my select tool. That one doesn't look very good to me, so I'm just going to... this again is farmyard, so it looks to me like we're going to be sharing a bit of stuff here. Get my add tool. Oops. Get my add tool. Not perfect, but that'll have to do. This is farmyard. Select tool. This is farmland. Great. These are not divided by anything, even though they appear to be different sorts of crops, different sorts of row crops. So I'm just going to go ahead and map that as all one large area. It definitely looks like this is not part of it, so I'm going to not map that as part of it. This probably goes, yeah, this probably does something just like that. It's up to you. In this one, it looks like there's a little gap, so I can leave a gap. That didn't go very well. Backspace, by the way, removes these things. This is farmland. This also looks like farmland, so I don't have a good suggestion for this. I'll leave that for whoever does the next square. However, this piece definitely looks like farmyard to me. So I'm just going to start there. This looks like farmyard. I've got some to map down here as well. Similar sort of a process. This pretty clearly looks like farmland to me. Don't attach it to a road. Roads are supposed to be on the center line, so in theory, farmland, farmyard, any farm use generally is not going to go and attach to the road, since we're supposed to be mapping roads on the center line. Clean this up a little bit. This is farmland. All of this to me I would map as, okay, to here, of course, because this turns back into farmland. All of this to me looks like you could map this as farmyard or residential area. This to me I think is farmyard, so I'm just going to map it as farmyard. Escape key gets rid of that. Looks like I might have tagged this incorrectly. Yeah, for sure I tagged that incorrectly. Let's just fix that while I'm looking at it. I accidentally tagged just this one node. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to delete that tag on that node, and I'm going to click on the actual area, and I'm going to mark it as farmland. Okay, fixed that. Escape key generally unselects things for you. Get my add tool. Again, this goes a little bit out of my area, which is fine. You know, remember somebody's going to be trying to map this, so try and always keep that in mind as well. But this looks to me, yeah, this looks right to me. That's already selected after I mapped it. I marked this as farmyard. I think I can go ahead and map. You know, this is farmland and it has a pretty clear divide, so I wouldn't include this in my farmland anyway. So I'm just going to go ahead and map this little bit of farmland. Select key. Let's see. This probably also is farmland, and it's a fair amount in my thing here. So this road kind of goes into my farmland. And again, these roads are supposed to be on the center line, so I'm going to go ahead and make that road a little bit more out of the farmland area. The person next to this can clean it up a little bit if it turns out to not be exactly right. Share these nodes when there's no gap between the land uses. It's totally acceptable. This one, same situation here. This is enough in my area that I feel responsible for mapping it, so I'm going to go ahead and map it. You know, there's trees, but we're going to kind of imagine where the actual corners of these plots are. And this one's not a perfectly square bit of land. There's just really nothing we can do about that. This is farmland. This down here, you know, this could be farmyard, this could be residential. It's hard to say. The key point here is that we're getting all of the farmland mapped. So if you're not too sure what to do with something that's not farmland, I would say leave it. The key, most important thing here is that we actually get the farmland mapped. So this could use a little bit of mapping, sure, why not? I would say that that's farmyard. You notice I work in wireframe. You can absolutely come back over here and take it out of wireframe, and you would probably be something. Yours would probably look something like this if you're using the standard JOSM. This might also be filled in with colored areas. I tend not to fill in my areas. This looks about right to me. It's just difficult mapping. There's judgment involved, but do your best. Like I said, the important part is that we're actually dealing with farmland here. Oops, somehow I turned off my... That's the JOSM default. This is what Potlatch would make it look like. The humanitarian mapping model, forget about that one. Focus on JOSM or the wireframe. Well, thank you very much. Bye-bye.